Lexie Alford became a Guinness Book World Record holder for being the first person to travel every country in the world at 21 years old. She's been traveling most of her life since her family owns a travel agency in the USA. Many travel influencers are trying to do this, but is this something sustainable? Do you really consider that you've been to a country if you've only been there a few days as opposed to a real cultural immersion like staying with local families and getting involved in the community? It's visa day! So one of the requirements of getting your visa is to bring two testigos. ¿Cómo se dice testigos en inglés? Witnesses. So my witness number one is Claire. She's legally residing here, so she's a proper witness. And number two is G.
That's of course.
Proper Mexican. In order to visit every country in the world, there is a question of passport privilege. Unfortunately, I am not able to do that since I am holding a Philippine passport.
Sorry.
Hello, Mama. I have a ring and a henna. The Philippine passport has visa-free access to 67 out of 195 countries in the world. The Japanese passport, on the other hand, has visa-free access to 193 out of 195 countries, making it the most powerful passport in the world in 2021. What does this mean? In simple terms, Philippine passport holders have access to less than half of the world, and Japanese passport holders have access to practically the whole world. Philippine passport ranks 76 on the list, and Japan holds the #1 title in terms of passport strength. But wait, how? Why? How did this come about? The ranking is based on this thing called the Henley Passport Index. It is the only passport index that is based on International Air Transport Association, or IATA data, enhanced by extensive in-house research, supported by expert commentary, and updated regularly throughout the year, making it the most robust, credible, and reliable index of its kind. In simpler terms, this index basically ranks all the passports in the world annually. What makes a passport a gateway to all the endless possibilities of the globe for some? And what makes it a hindrance or a barrier to others? Before anything else, let's get into a brief history of passports. The very idea of a passport predates democracy and diplomacy. The moment powerful empires flourished, land divisions between territories were drawn and redrawn. Regulations for people traveling from one domain to another were thus implemented. There was then a need for a rough concept of national identity. Today, passports are defined as an official document issued by a government certifying the holder's identity and citizenship and entitling them to travel under its protection to and from foreign countries. Without it, you are legally denied of leaving and entering a particular country. Without it, you do not have the guarantee of a safe passage nor have the assurance of being protected under international law. Passports might not specifically define your cultural identity, but it does serve its purpose of identifying your citizenship, and it does serve its purpose of entitling you to your safety. When I was going to visit Iran, my family and friends told me that if I do that, I won't be granted a US visa ever. The same goes for Afghanistan, Iraq, and I've done a lot of gender and society work in Africa and the Middle East, but I still need to be careful not to be banned in these first world countries. I simply just don't have that privilege, and if you have a privileged passport, you can visit these war-torn countries because nobody will question why you were there, no matter what the purpose of your visit is. There is also an ethical question about visiting these countries stricken by war and poverty. On a journalistic standpoint, that may be great to share to the world in a transparent, honest way of reporting, but these days there is a silver lining on what we bloggers do. Is this a fair, ethical, and honest storytelling? Should you post pictures with locals to sell a place as a destination, or is it actually just a sham to get more likes on Instagram?
No, o sea, como llegaron aquí, ¿quién dice que, uy, mira, hay montañas coloridas ahí? Es por el cambio de clima, obvio.
Claro.
Okay, now on to the good parts. What exactly makes passports strong or weak? Visas, and the degree in which a citizen of a country can travel the world without a visa. A visa is an endorsement on a passport indicating that the holder is allowed to enter, leave, or stay for a specified period of time in a country. In other words, it's permission by a country to grant entry to a foreign national. There are different types of visas. The most common ones are tourist, student, work, residential, and immigrant visas. Each type of visa has its own particular restrictions, requirements, application processes, processing time, and fees. Visas can be obtained in a number of ways. Long-term visas usually require a face-to-face interview at a designated consulate and would take time to process. Short-term visas can sometimes be obtained online as an e-visa or be obtained on arrival. Now, where does the passport strength come into play here? Countries with stronger passports most likely enjoy visa-free access if the purpose of their visit is for tourism. They can book a ticket, fly, and arrive at their destination easily and without any fuss. So, for example, if I want to go to Paris tomorrow, I cannot just book a flight, wake up, and fly to Paris. I need to go to the French embassy in Mexico, process the visa, submit some requirements, show some proof of income, and wait and wait and wait and wait.
On the other hand, countries with weaker passports go through rigorous and sometimes daunting processes before obtaining a mere tourist visa. Requirements would include proof of income, funds and employment, travel itinerary, hotel reservations, and a return or onward ticket. Now we get to the questions.
Why is this? Are these rules completely arbitrary? How are standards set to determine a passport strength?
One standard is a country's level of development. What determines a country's level of development? The Human Development Index. Do citizens in this country live a long and healthy life? Do they have access to universal health care? Do citizens have access to quality education? Do they enjoy a good standard of living? If the answer to all these questions is yes, then that country ranks well on the Human Development Index. Another determinant is whether or not a country is technologically advanced and whether or not modern infrastructures are in place. Another standard that dictates a passport strength are diplomatic treaties and trade links. Take the European Union and the Commonwealth of Nations. Think of the countries within the Schengen area and member states of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, better known as OECD.
Also put into consideration as a determinant for a passport strength is a country's economic and political stability. Nations that enjoy a high per capita income and a good economic standing will have citizens that are less likely to breach travel restrictions because they live in a generally safe and comfortable life within their own country.
Countries that don't do so well economically will most likely have citizens wanting to immigrate to a country that offers the possibility of a more comfortable life. Nepal and Haiti, for example, rank really low on the index. Nations with ongoing civil and political unrest would also most likely be on the weaker side of the global spectrum of mobility. Countries like Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan rank the lowest.
You're only ever aware that there is such thing as passport strength if your passport is on the weaker side of the spectrum. Not everyone has the luxury to just spontaneously book a ticket or a flight. Not even me. There is a lot of unfairness in terms of blogging because tour companies usually sponsor the white influencers since they are from a country of consumers who would more likely spend on ads. I'm not actually making this up because I did a deep research about the inequality in the blogging world between white and BIPOC influencers. 38% of my audience are from the United States and the rest of the percentage are super high in countries like India, Philippines, Brazil, Mexico. According to most sponsors and ad agencies I've worked with, even if I have 300% more organic page views than white blogger A, my audience is from a low ad spend country. Some actually refer to USA, Canada, and Australia as premium countries.
I also tried to ask companies and tourism boards about the percentage of BIPOC bloggers and influencers they sponsored, but they refused to give me the numbers.
Trisha, T-R-I-S-H-A, espacio.
My Instagram.
Hola, hola, dile hola.
This one.
Filipinas.
It's funny how some citizens on the stronger side of the spectrum get shocked at how difficult visa processes can be when it's the norm for people on the weaker side of the spectrum. My American friends have always been impressed with my travel records, but in January 2020, the USA required a negative PCR test when you enter their country.
Most of my American friends here in Mexico find that as an extra work. I wouldn't normally lay down my adversities just to make privileged people feel bad about my circumstance. But remember, I also have a lot of American friends who are dear and close to me. Just this one time, I couldn't help it, and I told him, honey, it's just a COVID test. It's not a lot of time, and it is required by your own government, so just do it. You don't know how hard it is for many people to get a visa everywhere in the world, but I don't complain because, some of us just have no choice.
When I tell them the time frame and the tedious visa applications I have to go through, they're pretty shocked with the stories because they feel like I am someone who's traveled a lot and have it easy in life. And apart from that, I always get the impression from people who read my blog or follow me that I am American. They think I have a second passport, but no.
This is the Maras salt mines.
All those countries I've been to, I diligently applied visas to each one of them. Passport inequity exists for a reason. Granted, it's reasonable for more economically and politically stable countries to impose strict regulations regarding a foreigner's movement within their borders. There's also a reason why this is an inequity. Inequity refers to unfair, avoidable differences arising from poor governance, corruption, or cultural exclusion, all of which are present in the countries that rank low in the Passport Index. These reasons behind passport inequity then spills over into the escalating and persistent issues surrounding immigration, border conflict, and general global economic disparity.
A passport is so much more than a mere piece of document. It carries within its pages the history of past and present civilizations. Where do you lie on the spectrum? Do you have a strong or a weak passport? What are you doing with that privilege? And how have you defied the odds? Let's start a discussion and share your stories and experiences with me on the comment box below.